YouTube. In this video we're going to be discussing the four different levels, we say levels of measurement when it comes to data in statistics. And those four levels of measurement are what we call, in this order too, we say nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio levels of measurement. Okay, and what makes these different from one another is that they have kind of different characteristics that would qualify you to fit into one or the other. But we're going to kind of pick out some pretty common things. When we talk about data, we collect data for some variable. This information for some variable, but we talk about this could be either it could be qualitative or quantitative. That is, you can either count it or you can't. So the first thing that I want to kind of make a distinction for is this. When we talk about qualitative data, that is things we can't gather a number for, but we can still measure, like color or something like that, or mood. We'd say that these fit with nominal and ordinal things, whereas quantitative data is either going to be interval or ratio levels of measurement. And we say that ratio is the highest form of measurement typically, and we say that nominal data is the lowest form of data. Not that we discriminate against it, but there's kind of this spectrum here, okay? So we're going to start by kind of splitting this up and say, let's look at qualitative data as a whole and say, well, for things that we can't collect numbers for, what is it that makes something nominal? What is it that makes something the next higher, level of measurement ordinal? And nominal, the first thing I want you to think of is this. When you hear nominal, we think it is name, okay? So we can say, can be organized in name only. Okay, so examples of, say, let's go ahead and write down, I want to make sure that we have plenty of examples here. Examples of this, we could say, would be things like, I don't know, like zip code, or not zip code, I suppose zip code. Gender, there's a good one, gender. Let me see if I can write this quickly here. Gender. So like gender, you're either male or you're female, but I can't necessarily say one comes before the other one. Or we could say like eye color. We can measure eye color, which is definitely a qualitative type of data, but we'd say that an eye color here would be nominal because I can only organize it by their names, like brown, green, blue, but there's no necessary order to this here. We could say political affiliation. All of these would be considered nominal level of measurement. Okay. When we talk about the next higher level of measurement, we say that these things, we hear ordinal. What I want you to think of is order. Okay. And we're going to write this, can be ordered. So what we're saying, the difference between nominal and ordinal is this. They're both qualitative data. It's just that ordinal data has a natural order to it. So whereas gender, you couldn't put that in a natural order, or eye color, you couldn't put that in a natural order, political affiliation, you couldn't put that in a natural order. When we say examples of things that are considered to be both qualitative but orderable, then we say these things would be like your grade. I suppose we say A, you get an A, a B, a C, or a D, or an F. The idea here is this. These are all non-numerical data, but there's a natural order to this. Or we could say, like, if I was judging a contest, we say first, second, and third, or like gold, silver, bronze. That would be ordinal data. Or, like we say anything that you're ranking, or ranking, something like that. We say non-numerical data, but I can put you in order. Okay. So now when we cross over into quantitative data, we say that there are two levels of measurement, interval and ratio. And I'm actually just going to point out the kind of key thing here with interval is this. It has no true zero. Okay. And what we mean by true zero is this. Zero doesn't actually mean zero. So what we mean by that is essentially, when you talk about, say, temperature is a very good example of this. We say examples. Temperature is a very good example of interval level of measurement because temperature we can gather a number for. First of all, it's quantitative, but the idea is this. 0 degrees doesn't really mean that particles aren't moving at all. Okay, 0 degrees is just kind of like a placeholder. We actually go into negative temperatures all the time, depending upon what scale you're using. But both on Fahrenheit and Celsius, we can go negative. So 0, even though 0 says 0, it doesn't actually mean nothing. Okay, or we could say IQ score, or SAT score. Those would be examples of interval level, and you'll see temperature a lot as a really good example of this one. But why an IQ score? Well, an IQ score says really it's an intelligence quotient, and you say smart you are in terms of age versus what your true age is. So essentially your IQ would be like if I'm, say, 32 years old and I'm as smart as a 64-year-old. It says I'm as smart as a 64-year-old, but I'm actually 32, so my IQ would be 2.00 or 200, okay? The idea here is this. This top number is never going to be 0. At least if you had a top number of 0, that would be like saying you're as smart as a 0-year-old, but you're actually this old, and that doesn't make any true sense. So 0 as an IQ score doesn't really mean you're not, intelligent. That's not what it means. So we say interval level of measurement. Just basically 0 doesn't actually mean 0, whereas this one ratio has a true 0. So basically, the idea here is this: with numerical data, it's either you have a true 0 or you don't have a true 0. So this would be like height. I guess I don't want to measure height, but let's say this: length. And if something has a length of 0, we really truly mean that it has no length whatsoever. We could say time. If time is 0, then no time has passed, and we really mean 0 means no time has passed. Or here's one that would hit you maybe close to home: salary. If I was measuring salary, $0 or 0 whatever currency you're using would mean actually, yes, you have nothing, whereas 0 degrees in temperature didn't actually mean that nothing was happening whatsoever. But these are the 4 levels of measurement, starting with nominal and working our way up to ratio. And the big difference is going to be, big differences are either it's qualitative or quantitative. Nominal, ordinal are both qualitative, interval, ratio both quantitative, and also the fact that with nominal and ordinal, just remember name and order. Order, you can put these in order. Ordinal, you can put in order. Name, you can't. Nominal, you can't. Interval has no true 0. Ratio does have a true 0. But that is the differences. Those are the differences between those 2 or 4 levels of measurement. Cheers.